Many exhibitors at this year's dmexco think about creative ways to interact with their customers. For example, here at IBM, you can get a recommendation for the perfect coffee. The secret behind it is IBM Watson, an intelligent algorithm. We have an expert here for that topic, Robert Schwartz, and going to talk about artificial intelligence with him and what's possible nowadays with that technology. Robert, thanks for being here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much.
Robert, if I want to explain artificial intelligence
Yeah.
to my grandmother or maybe someone who lived 100 years ago, how would you explain it?
Well, I'm going to aim for your grandmother. I don't know about talking to people 100 years
Yeah,
ago.
that's fine.
Watson hasn't figured a way to
okay.
reincarnate people yet, but when he does, we'll let you know. The simplest way to think about it is an assist, right? So it is. My favorite quote about AI is from Alex the Kid, who is a producer, musical artist who used Watson to compose a song later last year. And what he said was, what Watson allowed him to do was have 1 million of him all working at the same time, synthesizing information, and then take that and sort of create on top of it. And I think that's really the way we think about it. It is augmented intelligence. It supports human thought, human creativity, and that's what Watson does best. It's not designed to replace people. It's not designed to replace the role that humans play in decision making, but it is a massive support system to do things more intelligently, more quickly, more efficiently. That's kind of how we think about it.
So what is possible nowadays and what's going to be possible in the next years with Watson?
Yeah, I think there are a number of industries where we've spent a lot of time. So if you look at the healthcare industry, specifically oncology, if you look at the work we're doing in the automotive industry, you look at what we're doing in financial services. In each one of those examples, you're talking about enormous data repositories, right? So much structured and unstructured data that needs to be consumed. And in the consumption of that, efficiency can be gained. So whether it's accuracy and speed to diagnosis in oncology, or whether it's identifying financial risk in a quicker way.
Do you have a concrete example?
Yeah. So if you look at the work that we're doing with GM in particular, which is a big automotive company. We're working on making the car more intelligent, a more intelligent experience for travelers. So, how do we make it predict, whether you're going to have a failure with a particular system or mechanism within the car? How do we present to you an offer that might be relevant based on where you are, time of day? It's in the morning, you're on the way to work, you're running late. Hey, can I help you order a coffee? Kind of thing. That sort of assist is a great example of some of the stuff we're doing.
So how does it work to develop such an assist? Like, how do you start and how do you develop it? How does it work?
So one of the things that's changed over the past 6 or 7 years is, in the beginning, you had to bring this massive, corpus of data and ingest that into Watson. And while big, complex engagements still require some of that, the creation and overlay of APIs on top of Watson allow developers to begin much more quickly. So, the coffee example we have here, that leverages Personality Insights, which is an API, Watson Personality Insights, which is an API that's available to anyone, right? It's an open API. And what you can take there is a foundational piece of information around social handles. So if you have a customer set, ingest that, the Twitter handle, the Facebook profile, look at that profile data, analyze what the personality of that person is by what they, the words they use, what they like, what they engage with, and then you can make decisions about, hey, you might like, this strong coffee or this lighter coffee or this sweeter coffee. That's how we're doing it right here. And it's a good example of how quick it is to sort of engage with the product.
So do I need you guys to set this up, or can I do it myself?
No, so that's the thing about the open APIs. They're available to anyone. So if you go to IBM.com, you can find a number of pieces of information around how to dive into some of the APIs that are available to anyone. Now, as you scale data and other things, there obviously are costs for that. But to begin and to kind of mess around, we have a couple that are available to anyone.
So I think the coffee example is a pretty easy or basic one.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a really complex one talking about deep learning, where the algorithm learns himself. How does
Yes.
this work? Or how would you explain that to my grandmother, actually?
Do you spend a lot of time with your grandmother?
I do,
Yeah,
actually.
okay, all
She's-
right.
She's a really nice person.
Yeah, I think that the easiest way to think about that is that we've gotten to the point where algorithms and technology can learn. They can say to themselves, this event has happened, I've observed this event, learn that for the next time. Do something different if that happens. And so that series of sort of iterative, organic concepts are what sit at the foundation of artificial intelligence. And I think you're going to see this in everything, right? So whether it's as simple as a bot, which is basically an assistant that helps you select a pair of shoes on a commercial website, or helps you with an airline reservation, or helps you in the car decide where you're trying to go, or we will experience AI in ways big and small in virtually everything we do, and a lot of times I think it'll be seamless. A lot of times you won't even know.
Isn't that frightening also, like a little bit?
Well, here's my perspective, and I think this has always been what the IBM perspective has been on AI, is that it is an assist to people, right? Watson is not a replacement for people, it's an assist to people. How do we get smarter, faster, more efficient, be able to sort of solve bigger problems more quickly? And that's how we look at AI.
I think 2 weeks ago I had a chat with the customer service at Facebook.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, she's a really nice person. And afterwards I thought, wait a moment, is she a
Maybe
person,
she's not a
or
person.
is she an algorithm?
Yeah.
Isn't that like a weird feeling?
I guess the question is, if you have a good interaction and if you get a good outcome, who cares, right? I mean, if you're getting good outcomes and you're having a good experience, if you can deliver that through an AI automated experience, I don't know that it matters. Now, there are always going to be a need for people to pick up the phone and speak live to a human being, and that's always going to exist. But I think for a lot of people, the efficiency of a good, clean experience and interaction, even in an automated way with a bot, is fine. Particularly for basic questions, right? So, take the mortgage industry, right? The number one call into mortgage industry call centers. Do you know what it is? Have you gotten my payment?
Okay.
Do you really need to talk to somebody to have that conversation? No, you just need to feel like you have a good experience and get resolved to, all right, they got my payment, I'm in good shape. Again, I think for a lot of transactions, you don't necessarily need to have a human being to do it.
But like you said, there's always going to be a real person at some places.
Yes.
What are the limits of Watson or of KI, artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of limits right now. Because there's always context, right? So for any decision, there are human emotions, there's political dynamics, there's contextual history. Those things are always required in decision making, and so I don't think we'll ever get to a point where those things are being able to be handled, quote unquote, by a machine.
Isn't there already research about facial expressions and how to meme them with robots?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be clear. There's a lot that is possible, but I do think there's an innate way that humans interact and make decisions around interpersonal relationships and communication that is always going to be uniquely human.
So, what is the vision, so to say, like in 30, 40 years, in a world full of AI probably, how are we going to interact? What is the big picture?
Well, here's what our hope is, that it affords humans more time to focus on other things. So if you're a creator, imagine an environment in which you are able to create more quickly, more thoroughly, be more inventive with that creativity because you have something that supports you in that effort. So there was a designer in Australia who designed his most recent collection. He's a fan of architecture, and so architecture inspires him a lot with his designs. So he took a lot of pictures, right? He went around, took pictures of buildings and the shapes and the lighting and the textures, and he used Watson to analyze those pictures. Watson had analyzed the history of fashion trends and combined those two things and basically said, these are the things that interest you, this kind of shape, this kind of texture. These are the trends I've seen in the past. Here's some recommendations for what to use in terms of fabrics for your fall collection. That allowed him to be a much more efficient creator. He never could have done that on his own, right? He would have been putting things on the wall and researching and reading. So I think that's a really great example of what the future can be for us. A world in which we are able to create in a much more supported and facilitated way.
Sounds perfect. We're looking forward to how the world is going to develop. Thanks so much for being here, Robert, and have a great day at dmexco.
Thanks so much. It was awesome meeting you guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.